What's going on, everybody? This is PNP. This is Dave, one half of PNP. And we're about to get started with this whole ordeal about the worst five backfields in fantasy. But before we get into that, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We're doing a lot of big things with regards between fantasy. We do draft during draft season. And we also talk about primarily the Panthers as well. But we also hit all the NFL teams. And become a patron if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing more content there for my patrons. We also have a monthly giveaway for our MVP Patreon holders, and you get access to the Discord. So become a patron, guys. And always remember, you can get 20% off and free shipping using the code PNP at manscaped.com. Again, 20% off of free shipping using the code PNP at manscaped.com. Now, let's talk about these backfields, man. So, in a nutshell, in my opinion, when it comes to that, um, you need to try to be in a situation where you don't have too many running backs in the queue, too many people running the ball. In a perfect world, you only want to have one, and then maybe you might have some spiller for like 2 to 4 carries a game. But that running back, that there aren't too many of those. Like you got Chris McCaffrey, you got Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, but even like some of those teams have drafted running backs to try to reduce their load. But the bottom line is you need to. I have 5 teams, and I'll name a couple other ones as well. That you should probably think about avoiding if you can. But the top 5, I definitely think you should really consider avoiding drafting in fantasy, especially with an earlier pick. So with that in mind, let's get to it. So we'll start with the New England Patriots. Um, they have Damian Harris, Sony Michelle, James White. They drafted a running back as well, and they have Cam Newton. The reason why I put Cam Newton down there is just to give you that awareness that the man ran for 12 touchdowns last year. So he could be a guy that will ruin your goal line hopes for any of the other running backs. And the fact that you have so many other ones. I don't see Ramondre Stevenson getting too much work unless Damian, Sony, or James get hurt. But the bottom line is, like, when it comes to drafting one of these guys, it's a crapshoot. I mean, for PPR leagues, James White is probably your best bet. But even then, I don't think I would draft him too high because you can't be too dependent on it. I mean, at best, James White might be a flex. At best, everybody else is kind of undraftable to me. Other than Cam, but Cam, you're going to draft him at a quarterback spot. All right, moving on to the next team. The Houston Texans. Man, the Houston Texans are terrible. They're not a good. They're not going to be a good team. So from that standpoint, you have to keep that into account. Like because they're not going to be a good team, um, you should really, really, really consider staying away from this backfield. I mean, David Johnson might be the only one, but look at all the running backs that they picked up. They picked up Philip Lindsay. Mark Ingram the second is interesting because the current head coach of the Texans came from Baltimore, so that would make sense why Mark Ingram followed. Buddy Howell and they had the second lowest amount of running attempts in 2020. Now they do have a new coach that's probably going to want to run the ball more and probably need to run the ball more. And they have a potential new quarterback with Deshaun Watson possibly getting traded or possibly suspended, depending on what's going on with the situation. There's talks of a settlement, but we don't know what's going to happen with that. So the bottom line is you can't really trust this backfield at all unless somebody gets released. But they just signed 2 new guys. Like Philip Lindsay's new to the team. Mark Ingram is new to the team. So you know there might be some level of a 1-2 punch. And then you still got David Johnson there. So it might be a 3-headed monster. I don't want to have anything to do with that. All right? Next in line. The 49ers is always a team you got to be careful about when it comes to your backfield because they like to run multiple backfields. They did sign Wayne Gallman in the offseason. They drafted Trey Sermon. So now you got 4 running backs you got to deal with. Hopefully Mostert will be able to get that opportunity. But the bottom line is, at best, Mostert, even if he does get the opportunity, he's probably a flex play at best. Maybe a low-end RB2. Not a backfield you want to try to go for high. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think you're going to have 2 top 30 running backs here, but because you're going to have 2 top 30 running backs here, that isn't somebody you want to draft in such a high rate. You kind of want to get high end running backs at the beginning of your draft. You kind of I think if you're fine with playing Fournette or Jones as a flex play, it might not be too bad. But Giovanni Bernard scares me a bit. He's more of a pass catching type of running back, so it'll make it interesting to say the least. I think Giovanni Bernard might be the sleeper in this crew, only because of the fact that they've had the fourth lowest amount of attempts in 2020. I mean, they still have Tom Brady. They still have the same coaching staff as before. So when you start taking those things into account, Giovanni Bernard should benefit to get some catches if they give him some time on the field. So that's something that you gotta probably keep an eye on when the offseason, once we get further along in the offseason and get into training camp to see what their purpose for Giovanni Bernard. It's interesting because Ronald Jones could probably do the similar type of work as well. And still Kevin Fournette. All right. Arizona Cardinals. Look, man, I like Chase Edmonds a lot, but I'm worried about the fact that they picked up James Conner. Basically what it boils down to for me is that, because they picked up James Conner, it's going to split this backfield up. It's not going to, I had Chase Edmonds as probably a potential top 20 guy prior. Now he's probably going to run into the 20 to 30 range with James Conner there. And then you still got Kyler Murray that runs the ball too. That's probably going to have 125 to 150 carries. I mean, he ran for 800 yards last year as a quarterback. So when you take all those things into account, you have to be cognizant of it. And there's probably other worse backfields. And there's some other ones to consider. But before we get into that, I want you guys to check out the shirt I got on today, man. So you can grab this on our Teespring site. One of the benefits of all the subscribers, and thanks for your support. So you can go ahead and go out and buy some merch. We got a bunch of other merchandise too. We got the logo, the PNP logo merch. We got a hoodie. We got T-shirts, different types, because Rashad's a T-shirt snob. So, we got 100% cotton. And we got a shirt with some polyester in it. So the site will be in the link, will be in the description below. And with that being said, let's get to some other teams to consider. All right, so the Miami Dolphins. Myles Gaskin could potentially be the guy. It's just a matter of whether or not you think he is good enough to be the guy. But he should be able to get the bulk of the volume. So the Dolphins is an interesting one that you might want to keep an eye on. The Chicago Bears. I love David Montgomery. I love him a lot. But Tariq Cohen is coming back from injury, and that's going to chew up his carry base. All right, so that's something that you need to keep in mind as well. The Las Vegas Raiders, I love Josh Jacobs. But once again, they signed Kenyon Drake. So now I'm like, oh, no. Now you put me in a spot. Josh Jacobs had the potential to end up being a top 10 running back in fantasy, but now you got Kenyon Drake in the wings waiting. So I'm always concerned about that. Now, Denver Broncos, while Philip Lindsay did leave, and we have Melvin Gordon III there, now they drafted a running back that they really like in Javonte Williams. So that's another situation to keep an eye on with regards to that. Jacksonville Jaguars, James Robinson was pretty much top 5 running back in fantasy last year. Unfortunately, they decided to draft Travis Etienne. And there's talks that Travis Etienne might end up winning the starting job already, which is a travesty in itself. So that might be another two-back system. New York Jets. I think Michael Carter is going to win the job. I'm just worried about the fact that it is the New York Jets, and they're not going to be that good this year. I know they got a quarterback, but they're just not going to be that good this year. I do anticipate that Michael Carter is going to win the job as a rookie, but I just don't think they're going to be that good this year. So, and that's all I have. So there you go. We talked about. I gave you my 5 backfields to avoid, and I gave you 6 other ones to start thinking about as well. So with that in mind, check out the Teespring site. Check out and to get one of these bad boy shirts, go to Manscaped. If you want to grab the Lawnmower 4.0, you can use the code PNP to get 20% off for free shipping. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. You can follow me on Twitter at ChampD1012. You hop in the comments, man. Tell me what you think about these backfields. I'm here to talk about it. So with that in mind, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And always remember,